guys. So, my mom did something the other day that I wanted to share with you because it's one of the things that demonstrates the kind of behavior that someone who's extremely unhealthy and the kind of actions they'll do and the kind of things they'll say that kind of clue you in that this person, is not a safe person, is not in their right mind. She suffers from a traumatic past of her own, the extent to which I don't really have all the details on because it was the elephant in the room when I was growing up. Based on what I've learned, based on what I've heard, I can only presume that my mom has experienced some sort of trauma in her past, but I don't know what kind. I don't know who the perpetrator or perpetrators were. All I know is that there's some stuff in my mom's past. What has bothered me in the past is that she will not talk about it to anyone. She will not go to counseling. She is very adamant that she's not crazy in any given situation where there's conflict. She insists that she's not crazy. Even if you say to her if you bring up the topic of getting help, or professional assistance or guidance or someone to talk to, she uses the word crazy. She'll say, I'm not crazy. And it's that mindset where it's very defensive, very degrading. And I see in her when she talks about herself potentially being unwell. There's not even the possibility of consideration that she might need some sort of healing, that she might need some sort of counseling or guidance or help or assistance. She absolutely refuses to consider that there's anything potentially amiss with the way she thinks, the way she lives her lives, how she behaves, or what she does, or how she acts. I am 98% sure that at the very least, at the very minimum, she's borderline. The symptoms specifically on borderline, they're on point with her and other overlap in other areas as well. One characteristic above and beyond anything else that my mom has, this habit, is baiting. She is the queen of baiting people into a reaction. And I used to think that it was just that she was seeking pity from others, but it wasn't that simple. I believe that her ability to get people to feel sorry for her was just like a starting point, and her baiting people to get reactions from them, whether it was positive or negative reaction or anything in between, was just a form of her getting attention, period. Whether it was, like I said, positive or negative, it was a way for her to feel as though she was loved. My guess is that my mom potentially has daddy issues, as did I growing up, and could very well have been neglected and or rejected by her dad. And the baiting that she does comes from a deep, deep need and absence of male attention and affection. She certainly did it with my dad and tried to, but that failed, obviously, because you can't bait people and get what you want and what you need. It just doesn't work like that. So over the course of the last 10 to 12 years, I have, unbeknownst to me, because I really had no awareness about how unhealthy I was myself for a very long time, but over the last 10 or 12 years, I have put in place boundaries for my mom, that she can't put my husband on the spot, that she can't harass him. I have told her and told her and told her that if she has any questions, she needs to contact me. Now, over the last 2 or 3 years, since I got into counseling and opened the can of worms and became aware of my past and what happened throughout my childhood and young adulthood that really messed me up with the mental and emotional and physical and sexual abuse that I was the victim of in my family at the hands of my two older brothers and my mom and my dad. I have since getting counseling and discovering all that and learning about that and exploring it and beginning the healing process from all of that. I have since put into place great distance between myself and certain members of my family, including and in particular my mom. Thank God my husband got to the point where, and I did get to the point where I said, you just need to ignore her calls when she calls you, because, and he had my blessing to do that. He was just like, he had no idea what to expect. No one ever does with my mom. She runs so hot and so cold in a matter of seconds. And then it's always like clockwork. As soon as she's nice to you for a little while, bam, she pulls the rug out from underneath you and you don't know what the heck happened. And so for years now, since about 2014, 2015, when I moved back to be local where I grew up near my family of origin, I have been banging my head against the wall, frankly, until it has bled, trying to get through to my mom my boundaries, what she can and cannot do. I have put these very specific boundaries in place about what she can and cannot do, how she's supposed to treat people. And I never realized that I never had any boundaries with her, never knew that I was allowed to have boundaries with her. This whole time, the boundaries I've been setting is because I watched her abuse my husband and my kids. And so finally, when I got healthy and went, wow, this is not okay, I sought great distance from her because I had to learn myself how to put boundaries in place. And then after about 2 years, I would say sometime in late 2021, early 22, I began to reach out to her a little bit to try to see if I could balance a relationship with her with healthy boundaries in place. And it failed miserably every time. And I tried maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of like a year. And then the last time, I think, was over the summer of 22, just last summer. And I decided I cannot handle her in person. So I just restricted our conversation and our relationship to text message and emails and telephone calls. And then in the fall, she pulled, I don't know if you've seen the video a while ago, last fall, I uploaded a video about my mom and having fish, going out to dinner and having fish for dinner, and the tricks and the mind games and the manipulation that she pulled on me last fall. And I decided then and there, that's it. I'm not going to do the phone calls anymore. So I went down to and restricted our conversation and our contact to text message only. And that is all it's been since last fall. And it is now June of 2023. I have restricted our contact to text message. And she still manipulates and tricks and tries to mess with me. But at least via text message, I have time to process the interaction and respond in a way that I think is healthy and also keep distance without putting myself on the spot, without allowing myself to emotionally react, without, and my husband has not answered any of her calls. Now, the other day this happened. She called my husband's phone while I was at work and left a message that said something to the effect of how I must screen all contact with my family from anybody, and that everything has to get filtered through me, and how she hopes that my husband will intercept, she used the word intercept, a message from her to our son about his graduation this year. So she reached out to my husband in hopes to drive a wedge between me and my husband, or me and my son, or my husband and my son, to drive a wedge into my family being the happy family that we are, and her being jealous of that, probably is my guess. Because she didn't have a healthy family and she didn't have a solid marriage. I cannot even tell you how wrong that is and how inappropriate it is. Most of you are probably watching this video going, holy crap, the nerve of that woman, which is what my husband and I's reaction was. Where do you get off calling your child's spouse and saying, will you intercept a message, because apparently your spouse, my child, thinks that everything has to go through her. Actually, there's a reason. There's a very good reason that you feel as though everything has to get filtered through me, which I've never said. But in order to protect my family, if that's the way you want to look at it, that's the way it's got to be, because you're behaving inappropriately. It's unacceptable behavior. And so all she was really getting at was just to deliver a message of congratulations, which she could have left that very voicemail on my cell phone. She could have called my cell phone, and if I didn't pick up, she could have said, will you wish your son a happy graduation? But she didn't. She called my husband and left a message on his cell phone. So I was irate, but we decided to let my son, who is 18, handle it however he wanted to. And he decided to call her back. And in her message that she left on my husband's cell phone, she said something about getting my son's cell phone number to her so that she could have it. And I left that in my son's hand too. And I'm so proud that he decided not to give his cell phone number to his grandma, because she would be calling him nonstop and probably spreading a lot of lies and baiting him as well. And he doesn't need that either. And so this is so tough, you guys. When I think about, I can protect my kids, but once they get to be 18, they've got to really decide for themselves how to be healthy and how to handle toxic people. And I'm so proud of him that he decided not to give his telephone number to her. But he did hang up the phone and say, oh, she was really nice. And I'm like, yeah, she would be nice to you, because she's trying to bait you. She's trying to reel you in so that she can pull the rug out from underneath you and stun you. That's what she's done my entire life to me. And I don't want to see him get hurt by her. But he's a lot smarter and a lot less emotional than I am. So hopefully he'll be clued into that if in the future she tries anything further. But the behavior and the words that she has spoken to me and displayed towards me, it is extremely hurtful and angers me to no end. I at times get so upset that I can barely speak about it. I get so upset. She's triggering those feelings of being defenseless from childhood, from years of her doing this to me and me not being able to do anything about it, me not being protected, me being manipulated and taken advantage of and abused by her and my dad and my two older brothers, and never being protected or cared for, being baited and antagonized and used and victimized and manipulated and pinned against each other and used for, my mom parentified me in such a horrible way, in particular with regards to her and my dad's relationship and their marriage. I was supposedly her BFF and her counselor. That's what she used me for. She was never really my mother. She basically taught me how to do dishes, how to bake, how to do laundry, and how to take care of babies, all of which she was fairly average at, to be quite honest with you. And I never actually learned how to be a proper woman. It's pure luck, I think, that I grew up to become a somewhat rational grown woman. It's a miracle, but I do believe God's had my back. And to speak to the situation at hand and how my mom behaved, I remember I had a Christian counselor. I remember once him telling me that because I was struggling with guilt quite a bit when I was seeking distance from certain family members, I felt guilty, especially with my parents, and that's a excellent trick of a toxic parent. When you feel guilty, and this is something my counselor also told me, guilt is from the devil. Guilt is evil. It's an evil emotion. Emotions are good, but they can be evil. And emotions, like anger and jealousy and hate and fear and guilt, are all emotions of the devil. Those are the emotions the devil utilizes to maximize your heartache and your worry and your internal chaos. Having faith, speaking to the video I just uploaded a few days ago about what role faith has in healing. The more faith we have, the stronger our faith is, the more peace we have. Because in faith and love, there's kindness, forgiveness, grace, and there is a complete absence of chaos. And that's what we need in order to reach that place of healing and peace within us. So when I think about my mom and her behavior and what she's done recently with that phone call and requesting to intercept between me and my husband and me and my son, that is evil behavior. It is evil, conniving, vindictive, manipulative behavior. The devil has taken hold of my mother and she can't see her way out of it. And I've never thought of being unhealthy in those terms before. This is the first time. I was actually riding my bike home from work the other day and it hit me like a lightning bolt, where I was like, wow, the devil has hold of my mom. Because for my entire life, I've thought, boy, she's a sad excuse for a Christian, because she talked the talk, but she never walked the walk. And I always used to be so confused about the religious basis in my family. I was raised Catholic and went to Catholic school, and we always went to Catholic church. But she left the Catholic church somewhere in my mid-teen years, like around the age of 14, and she called herself Christian and went to like 3 different churches throughout my young adulthood, separate from my dad and the rest of our family, but we all broke off and went our own directions since we reached adulthood. But my mom has been infiltrated by the devil. The devil has consumed her soul, has infiltrated her soul, and is now trying to get to me. And he's not going to succeed. I made that decision. And my poor mom, the vessel of her soul, the vessel of her heart, has been taken over by something very evil. And it's not going to reach me. It's not going to reach my family. I refuse to let it reach me. And so my emotional reaction of anger and hurt and bitterness towards my mom, and feeling like I want to scratch her eyes out, it's gone. I'm actually feeling like I want to hug her right now. That poor, poor, pathetic, broken woman who has allowed the devil to infiltrate her and do these horrible, horrible things to others, including her own children. But love is a powerful thing, and so is forgiveness. So with that, I hope this video has been helpful in some way to you. I know it's not easy dealing with toxic people. It is a huge struggle. But you know what? I'm here to help, and hopefully this video was at least encouraging and supportive to you. Take care of yourself, and thanks so much for tuning into Whole Wellness with Ann. Bye, guys.